Okay, we're all together. So, the Canadian progression, just come on a little closer. The Canadian progression is based on two major areas: biomechanics and physics. And then we go from there.
Biomechanics and what?
Physics.
Physics.
Gravity, friction, that sort of thing. So we use those as guiding principles to help determine the progression. From there, we layer in other things, learning styles, and situational skiing considerations. And we'll get into that later. But for here, the next 30 minutes, what I'd like to do is just show you how we would progress a skier. This is not going to be a surprise. It's going to be very similar to many of you because biomechanics, the human body has not changed that much. It turns a certain way better than another. So we'll have similarities there. Physics haven't really changed a whole lot. So again, you will see how we progress from a beginner to an intermediate is similar. I think where you're going to see some differences is in language and culture and how our skiing terrain and snow condition influences our view of skiing. Does that make sense to everybody?
You do make sense.
Yes? Awesome. So down here, what I like to do is we're just going to do a simple wedge turn. And for us, with wedge, when we're getting someone going, we have two pivot points. Turning the femur out of the hip socket. It's not just one, we turn both with the idea of balance against the edge and along the whole sole of the foot. Okay, let's go. A lot of similar pictures. I see Austria, very disciplined, beautiful movements. I see Australia, very stacked on top of one another. I see Finland. Oh, is it Finland? Yes. Just very nice turning with the lower leg. These are all common to around the world. Okay, so I think again, with Canada, our biggest focus in terms of skill sets, and I'll be breaking into those skills, is we focus on stance. We have 4 planes, so just play with me, okay? Our 4 planes are fore and aft, so back and forth, side to side. We have rotational balance as well, okay? Does that make sense? Yep. So that is a focus, because when a skier is in the center, depending on the terrain, you can turn your ski. Very difficult to turn your ski when you're behind it, too far inside or too far forward. The other big thing that we look for here and emphasize in Canada is as we create that wedge, that platform, is that we want to see a solid line of balance here for the skier, because this eventually turns into this. Yep. So we start to pattern, blueprint the idea of having a skier balance on the outside ski. And last thing here is bending softly in all the joints. It's not just in the hip, or just the knee, or just the ankle. It's proportionate. Make sense? Cool. Let's go around the corner. We'll pick. So as the skiers become more confident and we get good direction change, eventually we want to start to introduce a telly stance. And like a lot of countries, Canada recognizes it's very situational. And that's key for us. Situational. We are not, it's got to be front foot or it's got to be back foot. No, it's situational. Okay, but so that said, go ahead and try this with me. So in Canada, we will, in a stationary position such as this, we have good stance, we know what that feels like. We will have the person pull the leg back, we'll have the person pull the legs forward, and then we will do both. But when we start initially, because we go through the turn, and so much weight at a slow speed is on the outside ski, it's hard to push that ski forward. So we pull the ski back because that's situational to the learner. Make sense? Yep. Let's play with that. Okay? Let's go.
Niin kuin sitä nyt mulla tavoittaa vuosia vastaan.
So what's important for us is that we keep the shape and the speed consistent. I loved it with New Zealand yesterday when Greg talked about confidence and control. So one of the tactics in our teaching is to make sure that with a beginner novice skier that we don't forget about keeping that outside ski working, because a lot of the learners, they get so infatuated, so focused on doing this. What happens to this ski? So the outside ski is so critical throughout skiing, but especially at this stage. So as we get more comfortable now, we're starting to progress from beginner novice. I know I'm going through this very fast, okay? So now we're starting to get into more novice, low intermediate. What we do is, if that is the fall line, what we just did, we start to move into telly sooner. And there's a bunch of different tactics that you can take, but the skills are the same. And in Canada, very similar to a lot of countries, stance and balance, pivoting, edging, pressure control, timing, and coordination. Those are the skills that we work on, and that's what we train our instructors in. So down here, look at our situation. We've got a little bit steeper, okay? And what we'll do here is we're going to go down, and I'm going to show, we're going to use a slightly smaller wedge, but I'd like you, please, to consider just at the fall line, take your inside ski and pivot. Pivot, so the tip turns away. The tail does not come in. The tip turns away, because that level of skier still needs what? A platform, right? They're not that great yet. So I want you to turn the ski away on gliding edges and then gradually move into telly. Okay? Got to make sure that she or he understands that this ski keeps turning always, even when we move into a telly stance. And that's the skill of coordination. We're coordinating two activities together. Okay, getting a little steeper here. A little steeper congested. So what we're going to do is this is real life ECG right now. Okay, so it's perfect. I love it. So, situational, and I like to hear from around the world. I'll give you our approach and then you tell me yours. Down here, what I would do at this level is the same thing, but I would make a very abrupt turn rate. Not a beautiful speed, but almost like parabola. Does that make sense? Just so I stay to one side of the road. What would you guys do in your report? Anybody? Parabola? Parabola is very quick across the ball line.
Oh, yeah.
Not symmetrical. Yeah. Ben, what would you do?
Yeah, similar thing. I'd take this to one side.
Good. So once you two go together. Yep. Okay, way you go. Yep, just down, keep me on the flat.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
I don't understand why.
So if I watch the group there, and thank you for your name again, Yuka. Yes. Yeah, really nice. It reminds me again of the Canadian technique where we have a situation in our teaching, and we're going to use the same skills, but maybe one skill is going to be emphasized or overemphasized. And that skill in this case was pivot, because we quickly turned our skis and then went into the telly, just so we stayed off to the side, okay? And for us, when we have a methodology that adapts to the student, the weather, the environment, to me that's a good thing to have. Okay? So here, a little wider now. So as you can see, fall line. Now we're getting closer to what we call an intermediate telemark. We're at the fall line now. Our skis come parallel, and rather than pulling the ski back like what we did in beginner novice, we start to introduce the concept of moving the ski forward as a place to start. And there's many ways you can describe that. You can do it even just here, situationally. Go ahead and try it with me. Stand on your uphill edge and just step forward. Okay? The idea of getting someone to feel that their base of support, their center of mass are aligned. Boom. Okay? The idea of flexing, softening the joint. One more time. It's Joseph? Martin. Watch Martin here again. You can see when he does that, it's soft. It's soft. And that's what we want to promote. There. Nice. It's soft. When you watch Ben, one more time, Ben. Watch Ben there. It's the same idea. You can see the tip move forward. That tells me his ankle is bending. We promote all the joints in Canada to flex. So let's give that a go. Just down here. Look up the hill. One way, then right back to start walking on your edges across the slope. Okay? I was being sneaky a little bit. When you were walking, when you decided to put your front foot forward, what did you have to stand on to allow that ski to move forward? Yeah, your rear foot. You had to stand on what? The edge. And this is and I heard the description yesterday in a lecture, someone said guided discovery. You're setting up a situation where you know what they have to do without explaining it to them. And again, it has to be in the right type of terrain and context. Does that make sense to everybody? So here in Telemark, what we're starting to introduce is that uphill ski, that east side ski, so it's on edge. So they can't walk when it's flat. Yeah. Okay. So now we're starting to get the idea of the sensation coming forward a little bit. Okay, it's new sensation. So let's go play with it. Take a look at the speed and what we're going at now. We'll talk a bit about that too. Okay? Here we go. So down here, what I want to show you is a final form, what we call parallel telemark. This is for an intermediate skier. Okay, this is it has all of the elements now. All of those 5 skills are together. And when it becomes, rather than very acquired, very robotic, it now becomes a bit of grace to ski.
Just one question.
Yes.
Do you introduce something with poles at that stage or nothing with poles?
Yes. Pole planting certainly comes in. And that's a very good question. I have introduced pole plant in our progression, and it allows for it right from a wedge.
Okay.
It all depends on the situation.
Yep.
If I've got, say, Heidi, who wants to, she's got these great poles for Christmas, and she watched the YouTube polling clinic. If Heidi wants to use the pole, as long as the ski and the pole are moving at the same rate,
Yeah.
Heidi, use your pole. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
What I see is I see the world as a small place. The world is a small place. I can see there's a grace and a blending of all the skills now, watching all of us. We all have perhaps a slightly different emphasis in our demonstrations, but I think in terms of performance and the blending of the different skills that we work on, to me that is the starting point of how we sell telemark, is people seeing that. So nicely done. So that is a very that is our progression on a very fast timeline. But now I want to spend the rest of our session on how do we get there in Canada? How do we build skiers? And we build skiers, again, I touched on those 5 skills, but those 5 skills, we put them into 4 stories. 4 stories. And they're called technical references. And they're we build these so our instructors remember these stories, so they can explain it to a student. And the first story is proportional bending, bending for balance. Does that make sense? And I'm going to start working with each of you, all of us together, on little skill drills at more of at our levels here. Does that make sense? And I want to pull from you your experience as well. Okay? So for advanced skiing, if we've got a skier who is now trying to improve carving and steering, what we need to start to introduce in what we do is both angulation as well as inclination. And it's a blend of the two of them, right? Depending on snow conditions, how turn, how their state of mind, like there's a lot of consideration. But the idea here is we start to play with that more and more. And so let's just go down here, and we're just going to try, just for fun, some hockey stops, because you're in a section with a Canadian.
Nice.
Yeah, okay. So what I want you to do is we're going to do one after another, and then try it the other way. You try Alpine first? Okay.
Cool.
Okay, that's good. Okay, you guys, right there, no, right there. What part of the body is Ben using to grip the snow? Go ahead, Ben. Hockey stop. Do a couple plays. What joints do you notice are moving more than others? Is it the ankle joint, the knee joint, the hip joint? Which joints? What do you see? I see with Ben, and this is what we do in Canada, is I see the sequence of lateral movement coming from the snow up. Not this down, but from the snow up. And when I see him, I see the ankle joint move in, I see the knee joint move in, and I also see the hip joint move in. It's kind of like, again, from the snow up at that speed. Okay, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Let's just try it one more time. This time, we'll do it in telly. Okay, so hockey stop. Ankle, knee, hip. Yeah, beautiful. Other way, other way. There you go. There you go. There you go. See, we're going to see the same thing, what Ben did. Okay, ankles, knees, hips moving in, but in Shelly. But now what I want you to watch now the upper body too. What do you notice here with this full plan?
He's coming back to you, the guy over there.
He's you, yes.
Okay, so I'm moving it.
Okay, nice to have you. So, what you want to do is you see the upper body a little more open, but try this with me now. Put the pole in the snow, your downhill pole. Put your downhill pole in the snow. I want you to feel beautiful. Look at Martin here. You can see the cage, the rib cage comes over, right? But it's not this. And in Canada, this is something that we're very particular about. It's not skiing like this, because nothing has happened here. It starts from the snow up. Skis are attached to your legs, so start from the snow up. So it's this, and then come over. So I want to see the entire group this time. Put a pole in the snow. You know that you've done it right when you come to a stop. You don't go, oh. Does that make sense? Okay, so test yourself. Up, up. Nicely done. Yeah. So a hockey stop is learning a couple. It talks to two of our references. It talks to balance, lateral, yes, but it also talks to what another reference of ours is called separation. Having the lower body turn faster than the upper body, and when you're able to get separation, what can you do more? You can grip the snow. Does that make sense to everybody? So down here, what I want you to do is I want you to play with that. For all of you, from a Canadian perspective, that was an improvement, because it wasn't this. Here, it was here. And you were precise, you were right on it. Okay? So go play. Let's go have some fun. Come on. So down here, what I want us to play with all the way to the left is the concept of lateral balance. And that idea of a hockey stop promotes that. Can you just come on out for a second? When the skier at higher levels isn't balanced side to side, grab my hand. Slowly pull me down the hill. When I'm balanced laterally, he's a big guy. He's strong, right? I can withstand that force. Does that make sense? When I'm not balanced laterally, go ahead. He pulls me right off of my skis. So I want you to consider down here that you're going to get that balance starting from here. Grip the snow progressively backwards, but throughout your turn. Just don't hold. It's progressive. Okay? And that's when the dance begins. Okay?